Okay, today's lesson is about mental math. And mental math is the kind of math that we do in our head. And so I'm going to show you how to do it, but it's going to have what we're doing today is going to have to take place in your head. But I'm going to show you on this show me what I'm doing in my head. And so the three things you're going to need to know for this mental math are the commutative property, the associative property, and the distributive property. I don't expect you to memorize them or anything like that. I'm just going to show you what each of them means briefly, and then you'll see later how I use them in making math easier for myself. The first property is the commutative property, and that basically has to do with the ordering of the numbers. And basically what that says, and it works for addition and multiplication, and what it says is that anything that you do, like 18 plus 9 for example, is the same as 9 plus 18. So as long as you have just addition, and it doesn't matter what order we do that in. So obviously 18 plus 9 is 27, so is 9 plus 18 is 27. It doesn't matter the order. The other way that works is for multiplication. It basically says, for example, that if we do 8 times 2, it's the same as 2 times 8. They mean the same thing. So 8 times 2 would be 16. 2 times 8 would be 16. You don't have to write any of this down. This is just me telling you what each of these are. If you need help with one of these, you can come back and rewind later. The next property is the associative property, and that's about grouping. If you are only adding or only multiplying, you can group any of the numbers together however you'd like. So for example, if we had 8 plus 4 plus 2, that's the same as, for example, 8 plus 4 plus 2. Means the same thing, because since you're only adding, it doesn't matter. And the same works with multiplication. If you're doing 10 times 5 times 2, for example, it's the same as 10 times 5 times 2. It doesn't matter how you group them. It's going to equal the same thing. As long as all you're doing is adding and all you're doing is multiplying, it doesn't matter what order it's in. And the last one is the distributive property, and we'll be using that a lot today. And what that means is when you multiply a number times a sum, for example, 6 times the sum of 10 plus 4, you can do it two ways. You can find the sum first, so you can do 6 times and then find the sum, that'd be 6 times 14, or you can multiply by each number and then add. So, or you could do 6 times 10 plus 6 times 4. That'd be doing the same exact thing. And in both cases, well, in the one case we would get 6 times 10 is 60, plus 6 times 4 is 24. 60 plus 24, and we get 84. And then if we did 14 times 6, we would get 84 also. So it doesn't matter if we do it by each one of those and then add, or if we put them together and then multiply. That means the same thing. And I'm going to show you how these properties can help you in doing mental math and making things much easier on yourself. So the first kind of problem we're going to use mental math on is a problem like 4 times 23. And you can use the distributive property to do this mental math. Because if you go and you do this 4 times 23, then you have to set up the problem like this, and then you have to do all the work and carry, and 4 times, that's a 92. But if you use the distributive property, we can use that to do it in our head. And I'm going to show you how I do it in my head. So we can split up that 23. Do we know what 4 times 3 is? We do. We know 4 times 3 is 12. Do we know what 4 times 20 is? That's easy. 4 times 2 is 8, so we know we added a 0 behind it. So it's 80. And then we do 80 plus 12 is 92. And that's the same exact answer we get, but we can do it in our heads. And the way that you can do it is like I just showed you. You just see 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 20 is 80, And what you've literally done in your head is you've split it into this problem. 4 times 3 plus 4 times 20, which is the same as 4 times 20 plus 3. That's a distributive property. And the reason that we do that is because I don't know my 23s, but do I know what 4 times 3 is? Yes, I do. I can do that in my head, and I know that that's 12. And do I know what 4 times 20 is? In 6th grade, I should know what 4 times 20 is, and that's 80. And then can I add 80 plus 20 in my head? I should be able to do that in 6th grade, and that would give me 92. So let's try that one more time with a different problem. So now I want you to solve 7 times 21, and I want you to try and do it in your head, and I want you to try not to do it the same old times 7 way. So pause and try it. Okay, so if you did it in your head the way I just showed you, what you can do is what you're doing literally is you're splitting it up. 7 times 1 plus 7 times 20. And I can do that in my head. So the way I've done that in my head is I would say 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14, but it's in the 20s column, so it'd be 140 plus 7. So 140 plus 7 is 147. And if I want, I can check that. 21 times 7. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So I've done that. But I can do that in my head without doing it. Try one more. Try 4 times 39. Pause it and then you can come back. Okay, so how I do this, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do this in my head. I would take a look at the 4 and I'd take it times the 9. I know what 4 times 9 is, it's 36. So I have 36 in my head. Then I know that 4 times 3 is 12. And since this is in the tens column, it means 12 with a 0 after it, so 120. Then all I have to do in my head is add 120 plus 36. And so in my head, I've done that problem right there. So that's how you can use the distributive property to do mental math. The next kind of problem will use the associative property or commutative property, depending on how you want to say it. Let's see. So, well, the first problem in your assignment tomorrow is 13 plus 9 plus 7 plus 11. And now, could I go and could I arrange it by doing this here? Yes, I could. But that's messy, and I shouldn't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them together. Since it doesn't matter what order we add in, and since we know that we can group them however we want to group them, what I'm going to do is I see that 11 goes nicely with that 9. 11 goes nicely with the 9. I know that 9 plus 1 is 10. So 11 plus 9 must be 20. And then I'm going to see that 7 goes nicely with that 13. Because I know that 3 plus 7 is 10. So 13 plus 7 would be 20. And then I have 20 and 20. That's pretty easy to add. It'd be 40. So now I'm going to give you a problem, and I want you to group in numbers that are easy to use, numbers that are easy to sort into maybe tens, if you can. So this one is also from your work today. I want you to look at 5 plus 98 plus 95. Sorry, this is supposed to be a plus. It looks like a multiplication. Okay, so what you're going to look for is easy numbers to get together so you can do this in your head. So I want you to pause and give it a try. Okay, so if you look at it, does 98 go easily with either of those other two numbers? I would say no. But 5 and 95 go together really easily, don't they? 5 and 95 would equal 100. And then all I have to do is add that other 98. So what's my answer going to be? Easy. It's going to be 198. Now, of course, all this stuff that I'm writing down is stuff that I want you to be able to do in your head, but practicing by writing it down can help. So that's the way you can do it. You can do that same thing actually in multiplication too, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So one problem from our math today is going to be 5 times 17 times 2. Now, take a look at that problem. 5 and 17, do those go together easily? No. How about 17 and 2? Do those go easily together? No. So what I'm going to do is look for something else. How about 5 and 2? Does 5 and 2 multiply together to get something really easy? Of course, it makes 10. Then is 10 a really easy number to multiply with anything? Absolutely. So we would do 10, 5 times 2 is 10, and then we do that times 17, which will give us 170. So I'm going to give you one more, and I want you to try it with me. So, this is another one from your book. What two numbers do you see that you can multiply together really, really easily? I would say the 5 and the 8. That equals 40. And then can I take 40 times 12? Absolutely I can. And I know that 4 times 12 is 48. So it'd be 48 and then add that extra 0, 480. So what you've really made sure that you've done is you find the two that easily go together and then you multiply it by the other. And so that's the way that you can make these mental math problems much easier on yourself. I will be showing more to you in your small groups tomorrow, but that should get you a start. So if you need to, you can look back in the video and listen again to each one of those and see the properties at the beginning. That's it. See you tomorrow.